Welcome to Women We Should Know with international speaker, mindset reset mentor, author, and your host, Leslie Michaels. With audacious honesty and candor, the Women We Should Know podcast presents the wisdom and life-empowering insights of women who are the embodiments of innovation and social evolution. Please join Leslie as she shares potent conversations that will inspire your personal and professional evolutions. Welcome to Women We Should Know.
Welcome back to Women We Should Know, the podcast where we consistently bring you the voice, the initiatives, the paradigm-busting badassness of women who are out in the world, who are changing the status quo, who are not coloring inside of the lines, who are not going to jump into boxes that were created by someone else. And the greatest thing about every single one of these women I get to have a conversation with is that as they create that new path, they're leaving a light on, so that any of us that want to follow can see where that new path begins and then take off on our own journey. It is always a privilege and an honor to be able to bring these guests to you. And today we have with us Liz Bullard. She is a host and podcaster of Coffee and Convos with Liz, where I just had the honor of being a guest. So go check out her podcast, because not only am I there, but you'll find some other amazing women on that podcast. She is a powerful community voice, passionate about making a difference in her city. She believes that her mission in life is to leave this world a little better than she found it. Now, you've heard that sentence before, haven't you, women? Those are the women we bring into this studio. It's a privilege. As the host of Coffee and Convos, Liz interviews influential people from all walks of life. She explores their stories and inspires her listeners to think bigger, to live fuller. Her friendly, approachable style has endeared her to audiences worldwide. Liz loves connecting with people and exploring the topics that matter most. In her free time, that 4 minutes that she has free every day, she enjoys spending time with her family and friends, reading books, and, imagine this, listening to podcasts. Her goal is to continue growing as an inspirational leader and help create a more equitable and just society. Wow. Okay. I don't think she'll have too many of us voting against her on that. We'll be out there with our bullhorn horns and our pom-poms. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Liz Bullard. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning, Leslie. Good morning, listeners. I am so honored to be here.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day and joining us. I have a little tradition. I love to ask my guests, what inspired you already today?
Such a good question. And I listened to your podcast and I forgot you were going to ask me that. So this is a genuine, surprise answer. But I think today, something that inspired me was I did something that I was like afraid to do. And it's not like a big thing, right? It's nothing that puts me in danger. But I also write, and there is the other side of Liz that does like the writing and the creativity, and that's like her self-care. I have my website, lizbullardwrites.com, and I added like a paid feature on there. So like there's some of my work that you can read and pay for. And like I was so nervous to do that. And like, I thought about it. I was like, oh, I should do it. And I'm like, no. And I'm just like, just do it. And so it was just really nice. I was like, oh, you can do scary things. And so, yeah, that's mine for today.
I think that's brilliant. And you say it's not like life threatening or anything, but you know what? When we get ready to do something like that, or we're trying to push ourselves towards doing something like that, there is something inside of us that feels like life is being threatened. So,
Absolutely.
congratulations. Thanks for
Thank
sharing.
you.
What scary thing are you going to do today, women? Okay, let's jump right in. I know one of your big calls to women everywhere is to learn to and actively practice trusting our intuitions. Could you speak to that for us, please?
Absolutely. So I tend, even though I would love to be like, I'm like a logical person and I look at all the numbers, right? I am a thinking, feeling person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I find sometimes in talking to women, in supporting women, sometimes like there's always this common theme of like, oh, I would do this, but, or like I had this feeling that I should have went and did this, but, right? You have this sense of what you should do, but then
Mm,
you explain away why you shouldn't do it.
right.
And when I think over my life and things that, I wanted to do, the
Mm-hmm.
biggest obstacle has always been myself and like me not trusting that voice that says like this is the direction.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the example of like having this paid feature on this website, right? Like my intuition was saying like do this and step out, and it's like, oh, let me explain it away. But like,
Mm-hmm.
how much further, how many steps forward could I have been if I would have just listened to that voice? So I would love to encourage people, trust that voice.
Mm. What's a really powerful and actionable starting point?
Oh, yeah. So I would say know what that feels like, right? And as weird as that sounds, like know what does that voice sound like for you, right? Like, is it
Mm-hmm.
like your head, you start making that connections? Is it that gut feeling? Is it just kind of like that thing that's pulling you in that direction? But really understand for you, what does
Mm-hmm.
that feel like? How do you know that this is what you want to do? And it could be as simple as that, just like, I really want to start my fitness routine, or I just
Mm-hmm.
really want to investigate what it would look like to start my business.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if that's enough, if that's where that spark starts, like
Mm-hmm.
nurture that spark so that it becomes a flame. So I would say start there.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what do you think of this idea? This is something I tell women all the time. And they say, but I don't know what it sounds like. And I say,
Mm,
what does regret feel like? What does I wish I had listened to that thought feel like? What was I wish I had done that last week feel like? If you start there, you can rewind and you can remember what it felt like.
I love that.
You
I'm
think
going to
that's a
take
good
that in
one?
my
You think
pocket and
that
use that.
works?
I do, right? Because like you all know what that feels like. That like, oh, why didn't I listen to myself feeling? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mastered regret. I just, I can tell. And here's the thing, I still do it. Not,
Mm-hmm.
not like I'm trying to win the Olympics in regret like I used to when I was younger, but I
Yep.
still do it. You never get past it. What three things would you say to women about what they can do, what steps they can take to enhance their personal journey, very specifically to a place of self confidence to be able to express more of themselves?
Absolutely. Because that can be so hard, right? Like
It
whether you're thinking
is.
about like, listen, it
And
shouldn't
it's
be that
never
hard, but it
ending.
is.
It's
Oh
never
my
ending.
gosh.
You have to have something that
Absolutely.
you can do over and over again to keep growing.
You know what, that's the key right there, being able to do it over and over again, because like the first time it's going to be hard, the second time
Mhm,
it's going to be hard, maybe not as hard, but by the
mhm,
10th, 20th, and 100th time you are going to feel more confident.
mhm.
So I'm going to snatch that little piece and add it to the action steps. But
Do.
once you understand, you right, you understand, what does confidence feel like for you, what does that voice of assurance feel like, right?
Mhm,
What does that guide feel like? You know what I
mhm,
mean? After that,
mhm,
practicing,
mhm,
practicing communicating with safe people when you have an idea,
mhm,
when you have this inkling, like practice speaking it, practice hearing it out loud, because sometimes
mhm,
when you say your dream or your hope out loud, it doesn't really feel as scary as in your head, because
mhm,
when you say it out loud, those doubtful voices, they can't speak after those words. In
mhm.
your head, when you say something, then doubt is just, it's chasing you. It's right. Well, what about this? And what
Right,
about that? But when you
right.
say it out loud and there's no echo of doubt, or you
Mhm,
say it to someone and they're like, that's a good idea. It's like,
mhm.
whoa, my brain didn't do that before.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. So
And
having those safe
women are
people. Yeah.
terrible about keeping their dreams and their aspirations inside because they're
Mhm.
afraid to speak of them. If you can't even speak it, how can you become it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So valuable. Yes.
Hmm.
And then if I had to give like a third thing, so after you identify, what does that feel like for you? You practice speaking it. Um, you know, I would say I've thought about this a little bit, and like finding your tribe. Like again, the example I used earlier about this new thing, I was so nervous.
Hmm.
And when I had spoken to some safe people, and they
Hmm.
were like, yeah, you got this. They were
Hmm.
like, and they were asked questions like, have you thought more about it? And I was like, well, I did think more about it. And this is what I
Hmm.
plan to do. They're like, oh, that's a good plan. And so,
Hmm.
you know, finding those people that tell you, I'm proud of you without you even asking, finding
Hmm.
those people that check in on you and your goal.
Hmm.
I mean, I know people talk about all the time finding a support system, but really that is so invaluable. And I know in my journey has been so helpful. And I could not have done half the things without having someone, be that voice of reason when doubt was fairly loud.
Hmm. Hmm. And when we are growing, whether it's in the business world or the self development world or the advocacy world, we are reminded over and over again that the importance of having an accountability partner. I have found, now tell me what you think about this. I've heard people that agree, people that don't. I'd love your take. I have found that telling my very dear friend who is never going to let me slide on anything is sometimes more powerful than the coach or the mentor who I always have. I'm always working with them. But there's something about telling that close friend who never gives you an inch when it's important to not give you an inch actually can have more impact. What's your experience with that or your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like right, those outside people, those clinical people, those professional people, they're important, right? Their input is
They are.
valuable. But
Mm-hmm.
those people that see you at your worst, at your best, those people that feel safe, that people, like if I say like, okay, who's your person that come to mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are invaluable. They are
Mm-hmm.
invaluable to your journey, right? Because they know when you're slacking. They know when like you're not talking about your dream. They know when you light up. Like they know you and they see you. So I
Mm-hmm.
agree. It's very important to tell them. And again, like trusting, every friend is not the safe friend, right? You have
No,
some friends that
they are
say
not.
so
That's important too, to know who
very.
is and who isn't.
Absolutely. Because I have had friends where I told them I was doing something, and then when I was walking and doing it, they're like, "Oh, you did it?" So,
That's that's not only not encouraging, that's be actively being an unsafe friend.
yes.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And, again, they might be a support in different ways, but,
Hmm.
that person that that when it is a seed thought or when you're vulnerable and like anything can shatter that they're safe enough to hold that. And like you
Hmm.
could tell them and you could be like, hey, like I'm really scared about this. And I need some validation, right? That's
Hmm.
literally what I did. I told them, I'm like, I'm having a fear thought because this is new and I'm feeling uncomfortable and I feel like I'm
Right.
walking in the dark. And what I really need to hear is you got this.
Hmm.
And I told them what I wanted to do. And they're like, you got this. Not just because you said to say that, but like you got this. And
Hmm.
you've done this before. And it does feel scary when doing new things, right?
Hmm.
It's important to have those people because again, at least for me, the doubt voice can be really loud, doesn't take any
Oh,
breaks. And like I get
yes.
it, right? The doubt voice wants to keep you safe. Doubt
Oh,
voice
oh,
is
yeah, I
not
had the
right.
doubt voice going. I've had the doubt voice going so loud that I'm looking around to see if anyone can hear it screaming outside of my head, even though it's really right here.
Absolutely, right? And so it's important to have those people to be like, again, that outside voice. So I firmly agree, like having those people and sharing with them on the journey. And it's exciting
Hmm.
for them too.
It is. It is. I know my person, we were talking the other day and she said, we very casually, I mean, it's not pressure, but it's a different kind of accountability. No, when did you say, didn't you say that on the 19th you were, oh no, that was on the 31st. And I can feel, and we're on the phone, but I can feel her writing that down.
Yep.
And she's like, great, great. I know it'll be great. Just
Yeah.
not making a huge big deal of it, just this stable, consistent force. Now, what I want to ask you in reference to that, because what we give is what we get.
Yeah.
What recommendations do you give to women on how to be that safe friend?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. You know what me and my tribe do? We ask each other, how do you want to be supported? Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and we normalize that. We normalize, or like we'll call each other out like if we notice like a lot of doubt talk or like, just a lot of like just self-deprecating talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, like try that again, but don't, like you got this, like just sound more confident or like, being that kind voice. Respecting when someone says I'm not ready to talk about it or I just want you to be here. But if, again, I had to leave you with one thing to do, asking someone like, how do you want to be supported, right? You're starting
Mm-hmm.
this new thing. How do you want to be supported right now?
Mm-hmm.
And checking up on them and saying like, hey, like I was really excited, hearing about this idea and you sounded really excited, how you doing with that? So
Mm-hmm.
again, not feeling like you have to be like that coach or that trainer that's like, get up there and do that,
No, right.
because that's not going to motivate me. I'm just not going to talk to you anymore.
Some
But
days
like,
it's not what we need, and some days it is, and that's why we pay those fees for those wonderful professionals.
absolutely. But like if you're just like, how do I be that friend? Just ask your person, like, ask your friend, say like, how do you want to be supported? And you will be so surprised at the answers that you get. And it'll also give you some concrete ways, right? Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people don't know how to support people or it's a lot of pressure. So then you don't say anything. But when
Mm-hmm.
you get that concrete feedback of like, hey, I just want you to check up on me sometimes, or you know what,
Mm-hmm.
hey, let's go to coffee when I'm feeling down. That helps you both have something actionable you can do.
Right, right. And I love the fact that you say, let's normalize this. It is
Mm-hmm.
so beyond time for women to normalize being able to be present with each other and for to a great degree because it's not been part of our societal tradition, we haven't known how. I really appreciate, and so I want to repeat it for our listeners. I appreciate your approach of creating within your circle or your tribe or whatever you call it, maybe just between you and your person, whoever that is, normalize being able to say, how can I support you right now? What would feel supportive right now? Is there some way I can support you right now? Sometimes you might hear, I've heard this, just listen. Just don't say anything. Just I can do that. I can listen and be so present like a champ. So let's all normalize this, women, because this is a long hidden, long suppressed access point to our power.
Absolutely. And if I could
Wouldn't
add
you say?
one thing, and if I can add one thing, I would say like also like recognizing in yourself when we'll say that feeling of like jealousy or like competition rises up, right? Sometimes like admiration might feel like jealousy. And sometimes jealousy is jealousy, but like, see if you can reframe that. And what I mean is like, if someone is talking about something that they're doing and you feel like you want to say, but I'm also doing something, or I also, just again, like reframing that and say, like, it's okay for that person to shine. It doesn't diminish you. It doesn't change anything about you, but just recognizing somebody else having their moment takes nothing from you, and just normalizing, like, it doesn't have to be a competition. There doesn't have to be some type of comparison.
Spot on. Spot on. Yes, this patriarchally trained tradition of women competing with women has put us in such a comparison-oriented society, and we have the power to break those fences down by just not playing anymore. Nope, I'm out of the game. Not playing.
Absolutely.
One thing you speak about, Liz, I think it's fascinating because so many of us either don't know or we have forgotten that there are sometimes several answers to one question. And that is, you invite women to understand how they learn.
Yes. So that, I'm telling you, that has been very key, especially the past couple of months, and just, doing different new things. And it will help you reclaim your power, because like, if, sometimes I think you can feel, for lack of a better word, like dumb or not smart or incapable, because when information is presented or when you're doing something, it doesn't go as well as somebody else or how you thought it was.
Right.
But if you understand your process, if you understand how you learn, if you understand what you need to grasp, you can communicate that, right? So like, if I'm doing something, or like, Leslie, if you're showing me something and I'm just like, hey, can you show me that a couple of times? Or, is there a video so I can walk through it? Right. I can communicate that. So then I feel empowered because I have voiced what I need, and then you're able to help me out. But you can't have that. And then I feel, and I can have that negative self-talk that's reinforced by society of like, I didn't know how to do something. And I did it wrong. And how do I communicate? And all these things that just can zap our confidence. So if you can learn how you adapt or learn best, and you can communicate that, I feel like that can be very empowering.
That is so, so, so true. That is so true. Because we all learn just a little bit differently. Do not give me an owner's manual. By the third word, my eyes are going across the page and I'm over here making a grocery list. Don't give me an owner's. My brain just doesn't relate. But show me something and I'm on it. And to be able to just normalize, I'm going to use your word, the fact that we each learn differently and that every single way is valid is essential.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you for that, Liz. Now, you go from there to talking about or inviting women to, you are so great at the way you invite women step, by gentle step, to come to know themselves more fully.
Thank
You
you.
move from inviting them to understand how they learn to inviting them to understanding how they heal.
Yeah. That is, so again, another hat, as someone who's in the mental health space,
Right.
it's about, what works for you, right? And I think, again, so much of society is about, and I think there's a lot more conversation that we're getting better about like what is normal, or this is the one way you do it. And for me, that's very triggering when I hear someone's like, this is the only way to do something. Because I'm like, well, there's always an exception to a rule. And what if I'm the one time that doesn't fit in the rule? So if you can understand what healing means for you, whether that's from something that is traumatic or just like how do you restore from a hard week,
Mm-hmm.
again, that can be very empowering, because if you
Mm-hmm.
know that bubble baths is healing for you, then you can actively do that when you're in a place that you need to restore. If
Mm-hmm.
you know just sitting in quiet for a minute is a great way for you to restore, then you can do that. And I think there's so much power in being able to identify that you have a feeling or a sensation and being able to solve that or soothe that, right? It
Mm-hmm.
helps you to have that internal look versus externally, right? Because if I'm
Mm-hmm.
always looking to someone or something else, then it takes the power away, especially if they're not present or if that thing isn't present. But if
Mm-hmm.
I know that these are my set of things that I need that make me feel better or empowered, I
Mm-hmm.
can have control over how I use those in my process.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm hearing you say through your beautiful step by step process that it's time to normalize celebrating individuation.
Yeah.
And I will never be able to read a owner's manual, but I can learn from someone who can.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful, Liz. That's beautiful. And normalizing the celebration of individuation, well, that's a big kick in the knees to competition and comparison.
Absolutely. And like, listen, I'm all about like, let's compete. I can sometimes have a competitive nature, but to what degree, right? Like that's the thing, right? If there's nothing that's taken away, it's like, are you okay at the end of the day, right? Like,
Yeah.
can you compete and still know that you're enough? Can you have this comparison, this friendly competition with friends and know that you're still valuable and that they are too? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, kind of going back to that individual nature of like, what is it that you need to be okay? What does it look like if you're not okay? And who
Mm-hmm.
supports you when you're not okay? Like,
Right.
really identifying those things.
Right. I can be competitive as, oh, just horrible, horrible, horrible. And I had to learn over the years to be competitive from the inside.
Oh, I love
Be
that.
competitive to let myself expand into more of my skin instead of being competitive with that person over there. And it became fun and it became mutually respectful.
Mm, that's
And it
key.
only took me about 3.5 decades to learn that. I got there. So yeah, competition is not bad in and of itself. It's derailing when it's only for the purpose of making someone else turn their light down just a little bit or
Love
outshine
that.
their light just a little bit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I love to ask women who are in fields such as you are. I mean, you you counsel people, you are a trainer, you have a podcast, you're a community leader. What does the word empower mean to you?
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, wow. So my initial thought is it is to uplift others. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, like I just, in my mind, what I see is like, like those charts, like those bar charts But instead of like you go up on the bar chart and then you just lift up someone where you were, like, no, we're up on the same bar together. And we're going to keep
Ah,
being up on the same bar together. When I
mhm.
grow, you're going to grow with me. When you grow, I'm going to grow with you, because when I find out something, I'm going to help you, and vice versa, right? Like it's this we're growing together versus let me get to the top and then see who can I bring up. Like, no, like, let's, how do we all get here? And then when I help you, you know something that you could tell someone else that I can't reach, and then they can tell someone else that you can reach. And so I just see like just everyone on this even playing field, just kind of like just growing together.
I love that. I love that description and definition because I see that as being one of the main things that women use to hold themselves back.
Mm.
They are comparing their experience on every level to this person over here's experience, but they don't know what that person's experience is. And so they're overlooking the talents and
Yeah.
gifts and strengths of that other person that they could learn from. And at the same time, share what they have.
Yeah.
I love your description.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I love your question. It was a beautiful question.
We have these words that we throw around like empower. I love to investigate what different people mean
Yeah.
about with those words so that we can get into the meat of what they're sharing with us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you could wave a magic wand and normalize only one thing,
Okay.
one thing,
One thing.
what would it be?
What comes to mind I is being kinder to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm team number one struggle with this. But I think if we all can be kinder to ourselves, we can be
Mm-hmm.
kinder to each other.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I heard a very wise teacher many trips around the sun ago say that we can only be as kind or as loving to anyone else as what we have first been to ourselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to model that. It's really about modeling, right? Like if every day I get up and I say mean things to myself, how can I
Mm-hmm.
look at you and say nice things? I don't know what that's like. I
That's
know this is
right.
how I greet myself, so that means I greet you that way. But
Mm-hmm.
if I make time for me, I
Mm-hmm.
can make time for others or encourage others to do that. So I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And by normalizing this kindness, because we're all going to wave Liz's magic wand with her, it feels like we get the opportunity to grow past a state of just modeling. We start being that. And
Yes.
then as we be that, it becomes viral. It becomes incredibly contagious. Our negativity becomes contagious. It's just as powerful to let our positivity become contagious.
I love that.
Yeah.
But positivity become contagious.
In the spirit of positivity becoming contagious, what is the great gift that you are currently focused on giving to you?
Ooh, the great gift I am. Oh, I love that. I'm using that as like a journal prompt for people that I work with.
Take it,
um,
use it. It's feel free.
yeah. So if I was going to give myself a gift, um, being intentional about believing in myself. I can
Mm,
accomplish, and I have accomplished more than I thought I ever could. And when I look back at the barrier, again, the barrier has always been me and what I've told myself. And
mm-hmm,
that's been by like external things, right? Like if I listen to my tribe, they got me. They know that I'm gonna pull through. So I'm going to use a little bit of that and give myself a gift of saying, you got this. You got this.
Have you been reading the crib notes that I write in my journal beside my bed at night? Did you sneak in over at my house last night and go through my little crib notes just so that you'd have? I get it. I get it. And I do not know a woman, and I know some really wonderfully self-confident women. And even them, I don't know a single woman who couldn't use a good dose of that. So thank you. Getting ready to close out here. First of all, women, now, those of you who've been with me a long time know this, but for the new people tuning in, you don't have to stop jogging. Don't try to write while you are driving. Everything that Liz will let us publish about her, website, contact information, shoe size, whatever it is, we're going to put it on her program notes. It will be right there. And that gives you an opportunity, if you are driving or jogging, to sit down and watch the video. Get to experience this woman from a fuller sense, from a fuller presence. And while you're there, definitely subscribe, because you're going to want to know what next brilliant woman we bring into this studio. And share. What one woman do you know who would find some juicy, valuable nuggets in this conversation? I always invite you to share with at least one, because one of the things I want to normalize is women coming out of the closet with sharing. Oh, but what if she thinks this? What if she thinks I sent it this reason? Just push the button.
Yeah.
Be a good sister and push the button and share. And leave a comment. In 2023, I am completely committed to expanding the conversation that we've all been having. Now, you know, those of you who've been with me a long time know, when you leave a comment or say, Liz, I'm going to get it over to her. We're going to get it over to her, and then you can have your conversation, or you can converse with us. Let's stop being so secretive about what we wish we had, what we like, what touched us because it connected with one of our bruises, and now that bruise is not quite so tender. So, share. Subscribe and comment. And Liz, thank you so much for being on. But before you go, I have one more question.
Absolutely.
And that is, what did I not get to that you would love to address?
Okay, cool. Awesome. So again, thank you so much for this opportunity and for giving women a platform and reminding them to shed their light in a world that sometimes says that they need to dim it down. So again, thank you for creating that safe space to do that. Again, folks, my name is Liz. I'm a podcast host. You can find me on coffeeconvosliz.com. My politics is about politics, wellness, and activism. Because I believe, politics, it runs through everything, whether you're talking about wellness and all these different things. And it's important to be well so that you can make change in your community and within yourselves. So again, that's me. Oh my goodness. I'll tell you, I'm terrible at cross promotion, but I'm working on it, right? 2023, I'm working on it. There is, again, this new thing that I'm starting, this adventure of being an author and a writer. I'm working on my first series, which is the Prophecy trilogy, which is about a woman who is exploring who she is and creating her own destiny. And if you're into books, I have a podcast called E Reads Podcast. And I was not a good host, and I did not put that in Leslie's show notes, so I'm just putting it here. And so, yeah, you can find me at coffeeconvosliz.com or lizbullardwrites.com, and that's RITES, that kind of writes, like with a pen. So that's me. I'm just trying to leave a little bit of sunshine on this earth. So thank you for that.
Thanks so much. And again, women, don't worry about it. I've got you. It's all going to be right there. You can go down there and copy it all, copy and paste, stick it right into your URL. Thank you again, Liz. It has been so informative and truly enjoyable. I love my job. I get to spend all day having conversations with great women about interesting topics. How lucky am I? Thanks for being part of that world.
Thank you.
Okay, women, now I know you got a nugget or 5 today, things that provoked new thought. Now, here's the thing about nuggets. I know because I've done this again and again. They come to us. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Sometimes we even write it down. And then a year later, we pick up a spiral and we're flipping through it. And it's like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah, I remember. Oh, yeah. Okay. Different plan. We're doing this differently now. Write it down on any kind of piece of paper. Like this. See, I have my nuggets from Liz's conversation today. Write it down on any piece of paper. Take that piece of paper off of that pad and throw it somewhere like your kitchen counter, your bedside table. That huge stack of papers on the left side of your desk that you do go through at least every couple of weeks. That's a gift to your future self, because you're going to run back across it and you say, oh, yeah. And then you can sit with it a minute. I might start doing that now. You don't throw it away. You stick it somewhere else. You're going to keep sending that gift to your future self until you realize, I got this one now. And then I have a trash can that I never put into the trash that's full of notes. It's just stacked with papers. Sometimes I just go through that. It's a fun game. I invite you to play. And as you go through the rest of your day, I invite you to remember you are stronger and you are wiser than you know.